Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we got to do one of the more thankless jobs in the automotive industry. Working on a 96 Dodge Ram 1500, and these trucks are notorious for their ball joints. Bottom ones are holding up okay, but the top ones are gone. But the first thing you got to do is give it a good cleaning, get as much dirt and grime out of there as you can. And then what I usually do is my good old friend PB Blaster, and they're not paying for this, I use this stuff all the time, and you'll see it in my videos. But you just get in here and give it a good coat and let it soak, and it will help break it loose. And what I usually do is spray the top one, and then I spray the bottom one, and then I let it set for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending. Go do something else, come back, and I've already wire brushed the tie rod end and the bottom ball joint, and I just happen to be zeroed in on the top one here. And then when we come back, I'll show you how to press these out. Go ahead and get everything loose, and don't forget to clean the sway bar link while you're at it. This one's got fairly new sway bar links on it, so I'm hoping they'll come on loose and not need to be replaced. Let's let it sit for a little while, and I will come back and we'll get started. Alright, so the first thing I've done is taken the caliper off, and I've got it hanging over here on a piece of stripped down welding rod hanging out the chassis of the truck. Those short leftover 70 to 18 rods are really good for that. Let's get all these pins out. And don't drop these things on the ground, as tempting as it is sometimes to just fling them, because they are certain death for any tire that gets near them. And I see so many guys take them and just chunk them. Now I usually grab it with the needle noses and then just use the brass hammer to lightly tap it out. Now, next thing we got to do is get this loose. Now I have already PB blasted it. And let's see if it'll come loose. And it did. Now we got to put this one back, because we're not replacing the tie rod end. There's nothing wrong with it. We will put a new Carter key in it though. Now what I usually do, you can use a tie rod splitter, but it wrecks the boot, especially if you're trying to reuse the existing rod. And this is one of those tricks taught to me by the old guys when I was younger. Turn a nut upside down and run it so it just is above the end of the stud. Now, this is not the prescribed way to do this, but it works. Brass hammer. There it goes. And of course any dirt and grit that's in there is going to become a snagging point. At this point, you go ahead and unscrew it, pull it on through, put the nut back on so that it does not get lost. Just let that arm hang down. Now you got more room to get in here and work on the other stuff. So now I got to get the Carter key out of up here. And they used a really, really small Carter key on this thing. Now, a little more PB Blaster. Go ahead and hit both nuts again. Give another shot around the ball joint itself. Let that soak for a second. A little more wire brushing action. And I guess I'll see if I can take the sway bar link loose at the bottom, as the top's got a little bit of a rust spot in it. So if the bottom doesn't, So I'll see if I can take the bottom loose. On the other side I was able to take the top off. It doesn't matter as long as you can get one or the other off. Okay, so now I've got the top nuts unscrewed down a little bit, the bottom nuts unscrewed a little bit, sway bar links loose, shock absorbers loose. Let's let the farm equipment get by. The farmers are working on the 4th trying to get their hay in before the rain comes, and good luck to them because they got a lot of it sitting out there. Now what I usually do is just let the weight of the spring down. And a lot of times that'll break the top one loose. And that's the sway bar link coming out of the arm that you see moving there. So I'm going to go ahead and let it come down until it touches on the bottom out. There's a bottom and out cup up here. Let the spring off. Let the weight off the jack. And you want just a little gap. Now, the proper tool for this is ball joint fork. The problem is, it doesn't always work. Now, I don't use these if I don't have to, because like I said on the tie rod end, it destroys the boots. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a couple of whacks. And it's obviously not gonna pop. Okay, so now that it's loose, I'll go ahead and take the nut off the top. Put my gloves on because I got to pick up the rotor and the spindle. And the rotor and the spindle on this thing is not light. Okay, so these are snap ring pliers. I'll probably do a video on them later. Now, these ball joints, this ball joint presses in from the bottom. So they got a snap ring around it as a safety measure. This one's pretty rusty. So, oh, there we go. It's going to go ahead and open up. Didn't say it was going to come out, but it is going to open up. All right. Let's see. I may need a bigger set of snap ring pliers, but I may be able to get it with the needle noses here. All you got to do is get one side over. Yeah, here we go. And there it goes. Okay. Now, once again, with the wire brushing, we want to get as much of that grit and crud out of there as we can. And the PB Blaster does two things. It soaks through, it breaks it loose, but it also makes it so it don't go flying all over the place so bad while you're cleaning it. Now some compressed air would be good right now, but I'm too far away from the hose. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and flood it again. I'll do the top one too. And we're going to let it soak a little bit. Okay, so it's time to press out the ball joint. This ball joint's wore completely out. Now this one, the boot cracked on it. This one would have lasted a little while longer. The one on the other side was really messed up. I'm surprised it hadn't broken. But you shouldn't be able to move a ball joint by hand like this when it's not in good shape. This ball joint presses out this way. So what we got to do is come up and push on this part of the ball joint and support this side of the control arm. Now, the way we're going to do that, this collar is too small. This collar is too small. It's going to be this one. What you want is the smallest collar that'll do the job. And in this case, it's this one. So we're going to go ahead and put that on there. Now, this sits in here, and this is what the press is going to press against to sandwich the control arm, while the pulling force goes this way. This is the side we're going to use to push it out, which just goes on here like this. You take this big old C-clamp rig here, get it all lined up, and you want this thing as square as you can get it. And the thing here is to not rush. Somewhere is my 22mm wrench. Let's say the trick is to not rush. And I've found that if you turn it a little bit and wait a second, and turn it a little bit and wait a second, nice little pattern going there. It'll usually go ahead and move. And when it gets to where you feel it binding up and you can't turn it, don't keep pulling, just stop. And let the pressure sitting against it do its job. See, this thing's turning about one flat at a drive nut each time. And there it goes. It's going to come on out now. It's done got it loose. And there it goes. So then you just unthread this whole assembly. Set it down, because you're going to need it again in a minute. And out comes the old worn out ugly ball joint. And that's how ball joint works. It's just what it says. It's a ball joint. Alright. Same kind of thing. Except this one presses out the bottom. So we're going to put the support here. I need to see if this is big enough to go around the bottom. Alright. So we're going to go ahead. And the same thing we did up there, we're just going to do it with a different configuration of the same equipment. Now, make sure it's square. Hang on one second. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, there it goes. We're loose. Now this one made a lot of racket coming out. Boy, and it was in there. So now we got to clean it real good. Okay, now one of the critical things here is cleaning and then checking it for cracks. Now I've already been up under it looking, I don't see anything. But you got to make sure that all your surfaces are clean. Now some people tell you to put these bad boys in dry, other people tell you to put a little something on them. I always add a little bit of lubrication to them. Honestly, I usually just put a little PB right around the hole, put it on the rag and wipe it, and then take some of the grease that's on the stud and wipe it around the body of the ball joint, and it'll usually go right on in. But the main thing is, let me pick one up here, and I'll just grab the top one because I'm closest to it and we're going to do it first. Let me see if I can see here now. This is the shoulder of the ball joint. That shoulder has to be flat against the control arm. Now, like if I was doing the bottom one, which ends up this way, but for the sake of talking here, as it comes up, you want to make sure that it contacts the shoulder under here. And I'll get a close-up of that with the other camera. Because if it's not against this, it doesn't fully support the arm, and the arm can crack and break. The ball joint can fall out. The car can fall down. And we don't want that. Now we do got one more thing we got to do, and I really could do that before I put the ball joints in. And that is go ahead and change the spring out. But I think I'm going to get the ball joints in, and then I'll do that.